Now, after understanding this IPv4 header structure, we'll move on to the fragmentation. Every IP packet will be having a size called MTU, that is called maximum transmission unit. Why this particular fragmentation is needed? Maximum transmission unit is nothing but what is the maximum capacity of a channel to pass a particular traffic. That is what is called maximum transmission unit. It is just like if you look at if you look at small kids, okay, babies, okay, you cannot feed a huge amount, like how much you eat you cannot feed, because their strength and their eating capacity is very limited, but you can eat half roti at a time, okay. So that means your capacity, that is what the maximum transmission unit, but it is not same for everyone, okay. This is not same for everyone. So that is in the same is the case for the computer networks also. One network bandwidth may be very small, but another network bandwidth may be very fast. So, according to the network bandwidth, the transmission size must be adjusted. That is what the maximum transmission unit decides. An IP datagram can come up to 65,535 total octets, including header. Network hardware limits maximum size of frame. Ethernet limited to 1500 octets, that is maximum transmission time unit is 1500. While coming to the FDDI, this is a channel limited to approximately to 4470 octets per frame. That means the depending upon the hardware that you use in the network, each hardware supports the maximum frame size to pass through. That is what the thing in the laptops and other devices. You will see 10 by 100 by 1000 Mbps, or 1000 by 100 by 1000 Mbps. Like that, you will find the configuration, or 1 Gbps. Like that, you will find the configuration. This is the maximum amount of size data that can be passed through this device has been mentioned in the configuration. What is the case if you are using a slow device? That is slow device in the sense the device that supports very small size of transmission. Then you need to have fragmentation. It is just like you have purchased an item which you cannot fit in the main door of that cannot pass through the main door of your house. So what you do is you will fragment it, you will take it into the home and reassemble it. This is what is called IP fragmentation. The IP fragmentation, routers divide the IP datagram into several small fragments based upon the maximum transmission unit. Fragment uses same header format as datagram. Okay, so there is no change in the header format of the real IP protocol, IP packet, and the fragment packet. Same datagram, same header will be used. Each fragment is routed independently. Once after divided, okay, they will be sent independently. So illustration of when the fragmentation is needed. Here you look at there are three networks. Here with the red one network, with the blue one network. In between one network is there with black color. The red network is with the maximum transmission unit as 1500 octets. At the same time, network 3 is also with the maximum transmission unit as 1500 octets. But network 2 is only with the 440 octets. Okay. Now the responsibility of the router 1 R1 is to understand what is the transmission MTU of this network 2. Now this router, what it will do is it will fragment the packet into 440 sites, 440 octets, and will transmit. So this is the way the transmission will take place in the case of fragmentation. So that means same IP packet will be divided into pieces. so that that piece will fit into the channel of the network. This is the IP fragmentation. So how this IP datagram is fragmented? For that, we need the flag called indent. A unique number to identify an IP datagram packet will be assigned. That means whenever the datagram was divided into fragments, every fragment will be labeled with some number. So that what is that number is the indent. Indent is a unique number to identify an IP datagram fragments with the same identifier belonging to the same IP datagram. Fragment offset specifies where data belongs in the original datagram, multiples of 8 octets. So always this fragment offset will be the multiple of 8 octets. Usually it will be divided by the size of the fragment that we'll see afterwards. And various flags will be used. Bit 0 is for the reserved, and bit 1 is for the do not fragment. Bit 2 is for more fragments. That is, this bit is returned off in the last fragment. Assume that one packet, IP packet is there that cannot fit into one network, and that packet need to be divided into 5 fragments. The first fragment will be having the indent, that unique number, and the fragment offset. Based upon the fragment size, the fragment offset will be set. Next is flag. That means still some more fragments are there. This is not the last bit. So bit 2 will be enabled so that more fragments. This bit is turned off in the last fragment. So for the first fragment, this bit is turned on. That means that if any other router receives it, then it will understand that okay, this is not the last one. Okay, some more fragments are coming. So like that, second fragment will also be having indent, fragment offset, and flag. And third one also like that. Fourth one also like that. But the fifth one, indent, fragment offset will be there. But flag, if you look at it, the second bit will be set off. That is turned off. Whenever the second bit is turned off, if any packet receives, if any router receives that, then it will feel that okay, there is no other fragment with of this particular same IP address or IP type. So this is the way how the routers will come to know the fragments. So an example of IP fragment is like this. Header. This is the original datagram. Header is always like this. Header, because there is no change in the header. Same header will be used. Original datagram will be like this. 400 bytes, 400 bytes, and 400 bytes. Is around 1200 bytes. But the network can pass through only 440 bytes. Okay, that means I'm going to divide it as 400, 400, 400, which is somewhat lesser than the 440. And why only 400? Why can't be 420 or 430 like that? The reason is the minimum possible fragment size is 400. If it is less than 400, then routers will not allow them, because there is a condition that at least 400 bytes must be there for every fragment. So that is the reason I am going to divide it into the lowest one, that is 400 bytes. So data 1 400 and data 2 400, data 3 400. So header 1, data 1, its offset is 0. Okay, its offset is 0 because it is first one. Header 2, data 2. Okay, offset of 400. What is the offset of 400? Offset of 400 will be always the multiple of 8 octets. Look at here, multiples of 8 octets. So this is a 400 bytes. So header 2, header 1 flag is 001. The reason is 1 means last bit. Flags last bit is 1. Whenever the last bit is 1, that means that this is not the last fragment. Some more fragments are there. And offset is equal to 0. So because this is the starting one, so 0 by 8 is 0 only. Next header 2 fragment is flags is 001, because header 2 is not the this second fragment is not the last fragment. So 001, and offset is the size of this data 400 by multiples of 8, that is 8 octets. The offset is 50. The offset is 50. Next one is header 3. This is the last fragment. So the flag is set to 000. So whenever the flag is turned off in the last fragment, then it's set to be last fragment. And offset is here previously 400 plus now 400, 800 by 8, which is equal to 100. So this is the way the fragments and flags will be set and will be sent out. How are these IP fragments will be reassembled? All the IP fragments of datagram will be assembled before the datagram is delivered to the layer above. That means at the receiving end, before sending it to the upper layers, these fragments will be assembled. Where should they be assembled at? Routers or destination? Usually, they are assembled at the destination. So I told about the router, but not router. It will be assembled at the destination. But the divisions will be done by the routers. Routers will do the division, but the destination will assemble it. IP reassembly uses a timer. If timer expires and there are still missing fragments are there, all fragments will be discarded. Assume that out of these 3 fragments, only 2 fragments received and timer expired at the destination end. Then totally the entire IP packet will be discarded. Okay, this is the way the destination will receive or discard the IP packets. Based upon this fragmentation, what are the possible attacks performed? The first attack is denial of service attack. Okay, the first attack is denial of service attack. Assume that the first fragment offset is 0. So here the first fragment offset is 0, but actually offset is 0. The next fragment offset will be decided based upon the size of the datagram data by 8 octets, 50. Now the second fragment offset was set as 64,800. The result is the target mission will allocate 64 kilobytes of memory, which is typically held for 15 to 255 seconds will be maintained. That means the receiving computer which receives this data fragment based upon the offset value, it will feel that okay, next I require this much memory to hold the next segment or next fragment. So previously, whenever it receives the first fragment itself, it will create the memory for the next fragment. Whenever it receives the second fragment, it will create the memory for the third fragment. Like that, the memory will be created. But because of the wrong setting of the offset, that means voluntarily, I will program it. How to program it? As I have shown you previously, use the bit fields and you can set the values. Okay, you may create a value, you may create a packet by using that, and also you can send it. So whenever this offset was tampered, okay, as 64,800, then automatically 64 kilobytes of memory will be allocated, which will be typically holded for 15 to 255 seconds. Okay, and the second fragment was never sent. Then obviously that 64 kilobytes of memory will be wasted for around 255 seconds. That much amount of memory can be allocated to any other useful service. But here, because of this wrongdoing, that memory will be allocated. That memory is unnecessarily allocated, and it's of no use for the genuine processes. If it is increased, if the same thing was increased, then automatically memory will be full, and the system cannot devote or resolve the requests of the genuine processes or genuine requests. Thereby, it will look like the denial of service attack. Second attack possible is teardrop attack. Teardrop attack is a very serious attack. In this, what will happen? send a packet with offset 0, payload size n, and more fragments bit as on. So the first fragment offset is 0, payload size is n, and next fragment bit is on. Second packet is more fragment bit is off, offset plus payload size is less than n. Whenever the first packet receives with the payload size is n, then automatically what the destination will do at the time of assembling, it will think that the next fragment is with the n size, so that much size of memory will be allocated. But whenever the second fragment is received, because the second fragment is with the tampered one, and whenever it is received, and in that if it identifies that offset plus payload size is less than n, then the second fragment directly fits inside the first fragment. So thereby what will happen, it creates a very dangerous situation. Sometimes operating system will crash. When OS try to put these two fragments together, second fragment will fit in the first fragment. Thereby OS don't have mechanism of managing fitting one fragment in another fragment. So thereby the OS will crash. That is the teardrop attack. Next attack is overlapping attack against firewalls. Many firewalls inspect packets separately. When the filtering rules is based upon TCP header, but the TCP header is not fragmented, the rule will fail. TCP header is at the beginning of the data area of the IP packet, where what type of service it is utilizing will be mentioned. In the previous example, we have seen the ICMP type. If it is a TCP type data, then TCP will be on. Firewalls often check TCP header. For example, synchronous packet for the connection request. In the last thing we have seen how the synchronous flooding will be done, so that the denial of service can also be created with this. So because of this, these are the possible attacks, fragmentation attacks possible. The first attack is a tiny fragment attack. As I told you just now, what is the minimum minimum fragment size required to pass through, which is called 400 bytes. Now what is happening here? The tiny fragment means there wantedly the attacker will create a fragment of 200 bytes or 100 bytes. So this is whenever this this small size of fragment was created, then firewalls cannot filter such packets or such fragments. The reason is it is just like I think everyone may be seeing that how to filter the tea after preparing the tea. If the tea dust is very fine, very small granules, you cannot filter that with a simple filtering net. Okay, they will pass through. Okay, they will pass through it. So in the same way here also, the firewalls cannot filter the fragments with the smaller sizes. So the reason they will pass through the firewall and will enter into the system. So firewall is just like our filter. Okay. Next is overlapping attacks. Overlapping attacks is nothing but here in the teardrop what will happen? What happened? The second fragment can be fitted directly into the first fragment. But in case of overlapping, one fragment will overlap on another fragment. There also operating system cannot decide what to do. Next one is fragment buffer full attack. Okay, too much buffer will be allocated for the fragments, so that more memory will be consumed at the destination end. IP fragment overrun attack. Okay. Next one is IP fragment overrun is nothing but okay, that is they will mention that okay, these are the number of fragments generated, but that many number of fragments may not be received at the destination end. Too many packets attack. Incomplete packet attack. Incomplete packets means they are not with all fields checked or all fields completed. There is no value for the fields mentioned in the packet, so which are incomplete. So the minimum header information will be provided, but the remaining other fields will not be provided. Then OS does not know what to do with that packet. Some sensitive operating systems or some operating systems which don't have the mechanism of this sometimes may crash. So this is the fragmentation attack. These are the fragmentation attacks that are possible. Another attack that is possible with the IP is IP spoofing. Any host can send packet pretending to be from any IP address. The replies will be routed to the appropriate subnet. In this, two filtering will be there: egress filtering and ingress filtering. Egress filtering focusing on the outgoing traffic, and ingress filtering focus on the incoming packets. So egress filtering focus on the removing packets that could not be coming from the known networks. Ingress filtering is nothing but removing the packets from the invalid addresses. To conduct IP spoofing, one need super user privileges. That is the reason whenever you want to run whenever you want to capture the packets via Wireshark, the Wireshark must be opened under the administrative privileges. If you are operating from the Linux operating system, you are supposed to start the Wireshark with the root user privileges. In case of Windows, as an administrator, then only they can spoof or they can spoof the packets or they can capture the packets correctly in the network. Next one is routing. This IP address is especially for the routing. Router versus host means a router has a direct connection to two or more networks and has multiple network cards and multiple IP addresses. A host usually connects directly to one physical network. Direct and indirect delivery will be there in this. Direct delivery means ultimate destination can be reached over the network. Indirect delivery means requires intermediaries or middle hops for transmitting the information or transmitting the packets. Routing tables usually like how ARP tables are maintained. In the same way, routing tables will be maintained at the router level. Router level, we have seen the ISO protocol stack. At the physical level, repeaters, hubs will be used. At the data link level, switches will be used. Where in the case of network level, routers will be used. So routers will maintain the routing table, which consisting of from which IP to which IP you are supposed to pass through, so that you can reach the destination. Routing table used by the routers to decide how to send the datagram. Only stores the addresses of the next router along the path. Scheme is known as next hop routing. For example, if you look at an example internet with IP addresses, here green network is there, which is 10 series, and here pink network is there, 20 series, blue network 30 series, and purple network is there, here is 40 series. Here this R is the router. Now R will record like this. Okay, 20 series by 8, this is the subnet mask. This subnet mask 8 means 255.0.0.0. If you want to reach this address, then direct delivery. 30 series, then direct delivery. So from this router and this router. But if you want to reach to the 40, then you are supposed to pass through 30 series. If you want to reach 10, then you are supposed to pass through 20 series. So this is the way the recording of the route will be maintained in the router. Now there is another attack possible, corrupting of the routing tables. So corrupting of the routing tables is also a higher level of attack like ARP table or ARP cache poison, in which the fake entries will be entered into this, so that the traffic will never reach the destination. The packets never reach the destination. So this is one attack that is possible on the routing table, which is maintained at the routers. So these are the possible attacks with the IP. So IP spoofing, fragmentation attacks, and routing attacks. So we'll see how these particular fragmentation attacks, routing attacks, and spoofing can be practically implemented using Wireshark when we discuss the Wireshark concept. So this is up to the IP protocol and IP fragment. We'll see the ICMP and ICMP attacks in the next lecture.